Hey,
Hey,
how y'all doing? Welcome to the 21 Days of
welcome to the
Encouragement.
21 Days of Encouragement.
This is the Let's
Talk
Talk About
about
series. And when you say that about, you gotta make a face. Like, it's gotta be or I don't know. Anyhow, friends, welcome. How are you doing today? Really? All right. Let's talk. Just mano y mano or manas. I don't know. Friends to friends. Person.
amigos to amigos.
Amigos to amigos. Let's talk.
Amigos. Amigos is a rebel.
Okay, well, amigos. Holy Ghost. No, let us talk. Listen, we want to deal with a very sensitive and touchy subject today. Not everybody is comfortable with this subject, but it's something that we need to deal with. Let's talk about what do you do? How do you handle the loss of a loved one? Or even when you have somebody they've lost their spouse or whatever the case may be. And man, you see the direction they're heading in. What do you do? For this, we're going to go back to First Kings. I'm sorry.
Judges.
Judges. Wow. For this, we're going to go back to Judges, chapter number 15 and 16. In Judges 15 and 16, and we begin to see the story of Samson. First off, on yesterday, or no, not yesterday, because yesterday was our live day. So on the day before, we talked about Samson and how Samson had a wife and he left his wife and all of that, and she was given to another man. Now, the conclusion of that story is after she was given to the other man, Samson came back to find his wife, and he was so upset. He just went and he started tearing up some black. Like he got them Philistines, and he was just beating them up and whooping them and killing
Setting things on fire.
setting stuff on fire. Yeah, he actually took 300 foxes, it says, and tied them tail to tail, end to end, and just sent them running through
the people's
field
portrait.
and set everything on fire. He was mad. He was hot.
Set the
And they
foxes on
said, look,
fire
since Samson done set our fields on fire, that's what he did first. He set the fields on fire. I said that wrong. So when he set the fields on fire, they came back and they said, look, since Samson did that to us, you and your father, your whole family, we're going to kill you. They burned him alive, burned him dead right there. When Samson found out, he said, since y'all done did this, I'm about to
kill him.
So he went, and that's when he got
Finish
that
him.
jawbone of an ass, and he just started tearing them up with it. So listen, here's the thing that I want to talk about. Samson was so enraged. He was so broken. He was so hurt. It was bad enough that his wife had left him. But then when they messed around and killed his wife, and he still loved her. That was his first wife. He was so hurt, so broken. Man, y'all done killed her? Like, I could have at least tried to win her back, but now y'all done took her from me? Samson went and he killed a bunch of men. Then it says right after that, in chapter 16, he found him a prostitute. And he was laying with that prostitute, and they were still trying to come after him. He was like, I'm not getting up from here. This is too good. And he said he waited till in the morning, and he got up, and he dealt with them. Friends, listen, when you are dealing with grief, or when you have a person who loses a spouse or whatever the case may be, there are so many times and so many cases where you'll see that those people may start to spiral out of control, especially if they don't have a strong relationship with the Lord. You'll see that they'll spiral out of control. We were just talking with someone, and Kristen was talking with him, and he just shared his story when his wife died, all the things that he did, and how he just, man, he lost control.
Yeah.
And that happens when you are grief stricken. Sometimes it just,
you spend a lot of money.
You spend a lot of money.
You become depressed.
Get angry. You get angry with God even, and be like, God, how could you? How dare you?
Take them from me.
And you just, man, listen. That's a tough place to be in. And here's what God has given me on how to deal with that situation. First off, God says this to his people: when you find someone who's in this situation, just spend time talking with them.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to throw a whole lot of scriptures at them. You don't have to say anything fancy or do anything.
They just need company.
Just be with them.
Mm-hmm.
When my mother-in-law, Kristen's mom, lost her husband, one of the greatest helps for her was just that we were there.
Mm-hmm.
And there were several nights where we just kind of stayed there, well into the night, until she would even fall asleep, or we just go by, every day, just spend some time with her, and that helps. You don't have to say a whole lot. Just be there.
You don't have to know what to say.
Yeah.
Don't go in there saying, well, God do stuff for a reason. Nobody wants to hear that when they're grieving, in their pain.
When my dad died, I didn't want to hear that.
God will show in time that he did it for a reason, but it's not for you to say that. And many times we get in this thing where, you don't want to see your loved one hurt. So you just want to say something that's going to comfort them. But if you've ever been through it before, you don't need any words for someone to say. Just let me process it.
Yeah.
Just be there. Don't let me be alone. Don't let me get into this stupor where I just let myself go.
Right.
And I don't want to do my hair. I don't want to do my makeup. I don't want to go anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Like in depression, Samson was depressed. He went and laid with a harlot, with a prostitute, because he was depressed.
Yeah.
And he didn't care anymore. He didn't care that the enemy was outside waiting on him. He knew he could defeat him, but he just really didn't care.
No.
And when you lose someone, that pain can just go so deep where that's all you can focus on is your pain.
Yeah.
That's all you can focus on is that you lost that person, or you didn't say this to them while they were here. You didn't spend enough time with, I should have got this right, or how am I going to live life without them?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we put those people in the place of God before they pass. And God says, I don't want any idols before me. I want to show you that I can be your source and you should lean on me. And sometimes we use our parents as crutches. We use our grandparents as crutches, not to necessarily go to God for advice, but we go to them for advice.
Right.
And if they don't say it's okay, then we don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not the way of God. The way of God is that you go to him. You have the relationship, a close relationship with him, because he knows all things.
Yeah. And friends, so that's the first thing, is just be there. And I want to touch on something that Kristen said. She said we don't have to have the words to say. And that's one of those times where the saying is so very true. When they say actions speak louder than words. You can be sitting there talking to people, and who are in this situation, and they will not respond. They may not even hear you, because their mind's not there at that moment. Right then, at that moment, their mind is still thinking about the times that they had and all of that kind of stuff. They're not worried about that.
Man, it hurts.
So just know your actions speak louder than words. The next thing that the Lord showed me, again, as Samson was here and he was in this state and he was in this situation, what pulled Samson out of this situation is that he realized he had work to do. He had work to do. And Kristen kind of already touched on it. One of the things that's so very important is that we keep busy. If you are in the state of grief, if you're in this, and not busy to the point of where you're ignoring, your feelings and all of that, but sometimes being busy helps you process those feelings, those thoughts, those things. So let me just continue to encourage you. Listen, if you know somebody who's in it, help them to be busy. Help them to stay busy. Go by and just be like, hey, you want to do this? You want to, and the Lord shows me this. It's not a bad thing if the busy is helping them organize photos, helping them organize the stuff from the loved one that they lost. Sometimes they just need to be busy, and even looking at it will help them work through some stuff. It may make them sad a little bit. Yeah. And here's the thing, stop thinking that people can't be sad. Give people an opportunity
let them cry.
To be sad, to cry, to grieve, to deal with this stuff, because my gosh, it's real. The pain is real. So stay busy. and allow them this opportunity to be sad, even in the midst of that.
You can do gardening, you can do bowling, you can go shoot pool. It don't always have to be something church related.
Oh my
It could
gosh,
just
no.
be, go for a walk. Do something to just get out the house. Go
Yeah.
to the mall and window shop.
Yeah.
And most of all, don't act like the person never existed.
Oh my gosh, no.
Say their name.
Yeah.
You don't want to bring up their name because you don't want the person to get sad, but it's so disrespectful to so many degrees if you don't mention that person and you just act like they were never here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially if that was someone's spouse.
Man, you good. You own it, girl. Boy, that's that. Listen, I can piggyback off all because this girl is so full of wisdom. But listen, that's key. Is when you're spending time with them, don't ignore the fact that their spouse just died.
Mm-hmm.
Don't act like we gotta just act like everything's all right. They don't want to act like everything's all right. What they do need though is somebody to just be there, somebody to help them remain busy, and to talk about this stuff with sometimes because they got some stuff going on in here and in here that they need to get out sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
and they gonna talk about their spouse, and you may hear a few stories you done heard, or maybe hear some stuff you didn't know,
Mm-hmm.
and that's fine. That's good. It's a part of the grieving process.
It is.
So friends, listen, first off, remember, just be there.
Mm-hmm.
Second of all, keep them busy. Third off, don't be afraid to mention the person's name. Talk about it. Talking helps. That's what we're doing here. We're talking, and it's helping.
And it's going to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It will be. And you will see, like he said, tears shed. They may get angry or upset. Or you and don't press the issue. You're like, if you see something's wrong and you're like, well, let's talk about it. And they don't want to talk. They don't have to talk at that moment.
Right.
When a person's ready to talk, they will talk.
Yeah.
Okay? And when they do, you need to be ready to be all ears. Don't try to give no advice. Don't try to give no wisdom in the moment. Just listen.
Right. That brings me to number 4. She just hit on number 4 is give them time.
Yeah.
That's number 4. That's what God just is sharing with me in this moment. Is finally just give them time. It's gonna take time.
Yeah.
In time, they say, time heals all wounds, and what it really means, it doesn't mean that time itself literally is going to heal the wounds, but what it means is that in time the wounds will begin to heal, and it will begin to get easier. I have a scratch here on my wrist that hurted at first when it happened, but in time it began to heal. Over the process and the period of time, it began to heal. So what I want you to understand is don't be afraid to give them time. It's going to take time. They need that time because it helps them to they need that time. It helps them. Rome wasn't built in a day, and they're not going to get over this in a day. I mean, they may even still move on and be with somebody new and still, whatever. Which brings me to another thing I want to just briefly, I don't know where that, briefly just address. Listen, if you are in this situation, you are a spouse or whatever, listen, make sure you close that door. After that spouse has left or whatever, give yourself time before you jump into something new. And that amount of time is different for everybody. Some people who knew that their spouse was about to pass, whatever, they've started preparing themselves. They got a little better. They may not need as much time. Or however, sometimes some people just don't need quite as long. But make sure you give yourself that time. And
don't judge people because they move on faster than what you think they should move on with.
Don't judge them.
Mind your business.
Amen.
That's between them and the Lord. If they're happy, you should be happy for them.
Amen.
And there's people that say that it never gets better, that it's going to hurt always.
No.
And that's not true.
No.
Don't settle for that lie. Don't believe that lie. And I can tell you that because I lost my dad. And the pain was great. It was greater than I could ever imagine. I didn't know how much hurt I would experience losing someone that close until it happened.
Yeah.
You don't know how much you love someone or how much they fill up a spot in your heart until they're gone.
Right.
And I literally felt a hole in my heart.
Amen.
And God walked with me through it all. If I didn't have him to lean on, I wouldn't be able to tell you that it does get better.
Yeah.
That the pain does not last always.
Right.
It will hurt, but if you walk with him closely, it will get better and better. I mean, I was weak. I mean, I just couldn't believe I could stand it. And I mean, I had to go back and teach in front of a classroom.
Yeah.
And be strong and be fierce and be bold in front of students and the enemy. And God strengthened me.
Yeah.
Was I hurting on the inside? Yes, but he covered me.
Yeah.
He kept a wall up before me. He never left me nor forsook me. So therefore I'm telling you that he will do the same for you.
Yes, he will.
Don't believe the tricks of the enemy where people are 20 years down the road and they're hurting because their parent is gone. And they're hurting because their spouse is gone. That is not the will and the way of the Lord. You will miss them. There will be times when you miss them.
Yeah.
And you cry.
Yeah, I still miss my daddy.
And that's perfectly
That's
fine. But it's not for you to be stuck.
Yeah.
Not to be stuck there.
Yeah.
Don't be stuck.
No. You know, and that's the thing is you have to at some point learn to let go.
Mm-hmm.
You have to learn to forgive.
Yeah.
You know, if maybe that person didn't treat you the best, didn't do the best, didn't whatever, you got to learn to forgive and let go. And maybe you didn't
let it go.
And maybe you didn't do right by them and they died before you could get it right with them. Hey, release it and let it go. Because all that will do is keep you stuck right where you are.
And you say, how do I release it? You release it this way. Speak it out of your mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Speak it.
Yeah.
And say all the things that they offended you with. Say, I didn't like the way you talked about me when I was a young child. I didn't like the way you treated me differently from the other children. And say, I forgive you for that. I forgive you for molesting me. I forgive you for abusing me. I forgive you for talking to me crazy. Just start speaking that thing out into the atmosphere and feel it release.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have to be here or in front of you to release that thing. You release it in the atmosphere.
Amen.
And watch you be free.
And friends, as we close, I want to leave you with this last thing. Know that everybody's process is different.
Mm-hmm.
No two people exactly grieve the same. Mm-hmm. When I lost my dad and when Kristen lost her dad, it was two different processes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, mine looked a whole lot, neater and different because I don't know where that strength came from because, oh my gosh, I broke down weeping, crying at the instant. But that's a whole story for a different time. But God then, he strengthened me.
Did.
And I was able to preach the funeral, do all this other stuff, and help my sisters through it, all that. But everybody's process is different. And don't be mad at somebody because their process ain't like your process or because they not crying as long as you are crying or they crying more than you crying.
Right.
Give them their space and their time.
Mm-hmm.
Baby, any love closing thoughts?
No, we love you.
We love you.
You be blessed.
You be blessed.
And you tag somebody in this that
tag,
you know
needs
to hear this. We love you. You be blessed. See you next time.
See you next time.